This is She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. Your host, Kinsey Roberts, interviews incredible women in the wedding industry who are making their mark and creating success on their terms. Join the conversation.
Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. This is your host, Kinsey Roberts. Thank you so much for being here today. This is the second episode in our New to Business series, and my guest today is Jordan Vanden Bos from Events by JVB, and we are chatting all about her journey and the steps and the strategies she's put into place to build her wedding planning business. She's been in business for just under a year, but she's been really intentional about the way she has become an official wedding planner and what it's looked like for her to build her business, how she got her first clients, how she decided on the name of her business, and how she built her website. It was the perfect New to Business series episode, I thought, because these are all really strategical and tactical things that you have to do. Sometimes it's not just, thinking the idea and going out and doing all the things. You really do need to register your business, think of a business name, put up your website, get clients so that you can get those reviews and feedback. And I love the way Jordan was so open and honest with the way she has been doing all of these things. And it was so much fun to listen to how she's building her business. So Jordan, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing this journey with us. I cannot wait for everybody to hear it. So without further ado, let's go to the show. Jordan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kinsey. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
You are so welcome. Thank you for being here. I feel like I know you just because we have touched base a couple of times on Instagram. Like, we're following each other, we've touched base, we, comment on each other's stuff here and there. So I kind of just felt like, oh yeah, Jordan, of course, she should come on this New in Business series. It's perfect.
And I wish you could see my face right now because that makes me so excited. I've been listening to the podcast for a long time, and I feel like that makes me feel super good to hear.
Yay! Okay, so we're basically soulmates. That's fine. I'm kidding. So tell me, as you know, I read your professional bio there at the top of the show, so everyone has an idea of kind of what you do professionally. But since we're in the New in Business series, I would love it in this episode, in your own words, if you would just kind of give us the short version, and then I will unpack everything. But kind of just give us the short version of how you became a wedding planner.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, and that's where I'm at now. My husband and I live about a half hour outside of the city. Mm-hmm. I actually went to school and got a degree in accounting. And sometimes I tell myself that I got a degree in accounting just so I could meet my husband because we met in one of my classes.
Nice.
But shortly after beginning my career in the corporate world, I kind of thought to myself, I really don't like sitting behind a screen all day. I like more interaction with people. I like feeling like I'm helping people. And don't get me wrong, wedding planning definitely involves some screen time. But the difference is I'm kind of impacting someone else's world. I'm serving people. And that's where I really get a full heart. So as cliche as it sounds, I had so much fun planning my own wedding, and I kind of fell in love with the industry then, and I've always had kind of a knack for crafty things, for design, and I'm super, super organized. So after planning my own wedding, I helped a couple of friends plan theirs. I planned a couple of baby showers, a couple of wedding showers, and bachelorette parties. And a lot of my friends are saying, you should be a wedding planner. Why don't you do that? And I thought to myself, because I can't just do that. I have a degree in accounting. So my husband actually told me that we should look for a podcast about the wedding industry. Mm-hmm. So we were on vacation last year, and we found your podcast by searching. Yeah, I think it was just by searching, I don't know if he searched wedding venues or just weddings, but you popped up, and the whole drive home from our vacation, we listened to your podcast, and I was instantly in love because I felt like I could connect with every woman that you were talking to. I felt like I could connect with you. And so that's really what pushed me to take that leap was listening to you and all the other creatives on the podcast and thinking, oh, I actually can do this. These are real women who have similar experiences to mine, and it's possible. So after binge listening from July to September, I launched my website September of 2017, and here we are today.
Stop it. You guys, I didn't pay her to say that. I've never heard that story. Well, okay, I've heard part of it, but I didn't know we were gonna talk about that. But seriously, my eyes are kind of welling. Like, that's freaking awesome. I'm so happy. Okay, we got to get off that topic for just a second because I'm feeling a little emotional about that. I feel like I've had an emotional day as we record this. Okay, so you were a binger from July to September, but then you took action. And honestly, that is really quick time. Like from July to September, that's what? I can't do math. 45 days, maybe maximum.
Yeah, it wasn't long. I just threw my heart and soul into it from the moment I got home from our vacation.
You did. Okay, so let's literally just start. And for everyone listening, Jordan and I kind of talked about this before we got started. What we're trying to do, and then you guys know from listening to this New in Business series, we're really trying to gear this information towards if you are Jordan in September or July of 2017 and you haven't started yet, this is the perfect series to be listening to because we're really getting down to like the nitty gritty and the brass tacks of, okay, what did it look like for me to start a website? So we're truly starting like right there. Okay, so you said like you got home, you binged, then you like put your website, you were like hung your shingle, so to speak. So what did that actually look like logistically from starting your website? Because that includes like finding your branding and figuring out what your name is and that whole bit. So tell me about that.
Definitely. So I think the hardest part was figuring out what platform I wanted to use.
Sure.
Because I heard so many good things from different creatives on the podcast. I heard good things about Squarespace and how it's a really good template platform, that it keeps everything kind of neat and clean. I also heard good things about WordPress if you want a more customized experience.
Yeah.
But WordPress, when I started looking into that, I felt like it was a little too customizable for what I wanted to spend my time doing. So then I started looking into Squarespace, and I was really nervous about them only giving me a 14-day trial because I knew that I wanted to take my time because I've never built a website before. So I wanted to take my time and really figure out what I'm excited about sharing with people before it went live. Mm-hmm. So I ended up choosing Wix, which has a free version with like an advertisement. So I didn't actually have to start paying until I felt like my website was finalized and it went live. So that is how I chose the platform, just based on the fact that, that I could take as much time as I needed. Mm-hmm. And it actually didn't take me as long as I thought it would. But since I was totally inexperienced with that whole area, I thought I better give myself plenty of time and not worry about money because I wanted to be smart about starting a business and not just throwing money out the window to try different things. So that was a big game changer when I found out that I could take as much time as I needed to create the website and then get it running before I started paying for the platform.
I love that. I feel like that's so pragmatic. And, because monthly subscriptions can add up so fast. Like you're like, oh, it's only $27 here. Oh, it's only $79 here. Oh, it's only $52 here. And then, oh my gosh, you're paying like $367 a month out of your pocket for just random subscriptions you don't know anything about.
Right.
So I feel like that's such a pragmatic approach. That's really brilliant. And have you been happy with that platform as far as how you've been able to use it, like from the admin side, from like your perspective of being a new business owner?
I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory when you start to really work with it. Mm-hmm. The only thing I have trouble with is the blog. I feel like I can't customize that as much as I can customize my actual homepage and my About Me page. But aside from that, it's like the titles of my blog are black and bold, and that isn't really part of my style on the rest of my website. But the rest of it is really good. So.
Perfect. That's good to know. So how did you decide? So speaking of other parts of your site then that actually are your style and your branding, how did you decide as you were going through this website building process, like where did you get your name, which is, it's your name, but it's or your initials, I think, right? Events by JVB. And then how did you decide on your logo and things of that nature?
Yeah, so I chose Events by JVB instead of weddings, just in case in the future I ever feel like planning other events on the side.
Smart.
Right now I'm primarily focused on weddings. I really want to nail that process, and that's what I'm the most passionate about. But I thought, in case in the future I want to go a little more broad, I better keep it events instead of weddings. So that's how I chose that. And then JVB, I just felt like instead of Jordan Vanden Bos, because it's kind of long, my maiden name was Hill. So getting used to a 2-word last name has been just different. So I felt like JVB was kind of a unique, and it was still me. So that's how I put those two together.
Yes.
And my husband's name is Joe, so he's also JVB. So I thought, when my business grows, if he ever needs to join in, it's like both of us. So I thought that was kind of a cool little thing too.
Okay, you're killing me with this foresight. It's so good. So what I love about when you just said, I chose Events by JVB for a reason, because you didn't want to kind of put yourself in this box right away. What I love about that is I feel like, especially, from, consuming all the education that there is online, everybody, and it's not wrong. I'll get my full thought out here. But there's so much discussion around niching down and finding your niche and finding your ideal client and, client avatar and this and that and the next thing. But really the reality is you don't know what you don't know. And you can write a client avatar ideal woman profile for as long as the day is, but without actually testing it out and doing different events, planning weddings, planning corporate holiday parties, planning whatever it is, you don't actually know what you like. You planned wedding showers, you planned weddings, you planned your own wedding and baby showers. And so you kind of did that a little bit, but I think it's so brilliant of you to say, nope, I'm not going to put myself in this box so that I can really stick my fingers in everything and decide what I actually love doing, because we could surprise ourselves, right? We could actually surprise ourselves and say, oh my gosh, I actually love the corporate life. I don't really want to plan baby showers or whatever,
Right. Mm-hmm.
Oh, brilliant. I just love that so much. Okay. So how did you get your first paying client?
The hardest thing was to figure out kind of how to get myself out there.
Yes.
It was really challenging and almost a bit discouraging at first. But I kept listening to the podcast, and everyone was like, you just got to keep at it. I kept putting myself out there, and eventually it clicked. I did offer to plan a wedding for the woman who introduced my husband and I, totally free, in exchange for her feedback throughout the entire process, so I could really hone in on the process and the client experience and make sure that I was getting every detail and I didn't have any spelling errors in my files and little things like that. So I feel like that helped boost my confidence, just to have an actual client going through the process, even though she wasn't a paying client. So then I was more willing to start reaching out to people. And so over the past couple of months, while everybody's getting engaged over the holidays, I was really paying attention and kind of keeping track of just acquaintances who I saw get engaged, people who knew people that I knew who were getting engaged, and I just sent them messages. Or if it was someone who I could interact with in person, then I would go up to them and ask them. And after I think maybe 5 or 6 tries, I had 2 people email me back, and I met with them and then booked my first client. And that was what really, really I don't know, it just like lit me up. I was super excited. And I felt like I was a real wedding planner at that point.
Oh my gosh. And you are. Oh, I love that. What a good feeling. Like, I am excited for that.
Yeah.
That, like, it's lighting me up. Okay. So let me take a couple steps back, because I wanted to touch on something that you said, which I think is so true for all of us. No matter how long we've been doing any business, it can be discouraging when you really feel like, you're putting yourself out there, you're doing the marketing thing, like you're being active on social media, you're being active in networking, and you're kind of trying to like dip your toe everywhere, and it doesn't feel like it's working. So could you give us like 2 examples of things that you thought would be like, okay, this is going to work, but it didn't work, maybe not right away, and how did you kind of convince yourself to keep going?
Sure. So I think the first thing, I did reach out to a couple of people before launching my website who I knew were engaged, and just kind of said, hey, I'm starting this new business. I would love to work with you. And kind of got no response. So that was just really hard. I'm like, oh, could you just say no? Or could you just
something?
Like anything, or I have a planner, or I'm not having a planner. So not hearing back was, I think, the hardest thing.
Yes.
So I think what helped, well, I know what definitely helped was having a website for people to go look at, having a business card to hand to people, because I could get my name into more people's site, giving business cards to family members and friends, and having them just have them on hand, and then kind of just really paying attention to my surroundings and like, oh, I heard someone talking about so-and-so and being engaged, I should let them know. So I think kind of just everything together made it easier to ask more people. And I feel like the more people I asked, the better chance I had. And then eventually that led to booking a client. The other thing I'm still trying to get better at are opt-ins, because I feel like that's a major thing.
Mm-hmm. Like, and when you say opt-in, for those who are listening who may not know what that is, what Jordan means is like an opt-in or a lead magnet. So something on her website that she's going to offer to brides or couples in exchange for their email address. So whether that be a wedding planner or, any number of things, it's like something digital that automatically gets sent to them in exchange for their email list or their email address, which is brilliant. So when, okay, I'm interested to know, just personally, it seems like you were, I don't know. Well, it seems like you were very confident in reaching out to people right away, which I think, especially now with how popular it is to use social media in business, and how we can have our website, and it feels like we don't really have to touch base with people. But I love how you were like, yeah, I sent emails, I handed out business cards, I was working my local network, which is amazing. How did you get the confidence to do that? Because I don't think everyone can right away.
So I definitely did not feel confident sending the first few messages.
But you did.
Email. I did it because I thought, what do I have to lose? Yeah. And then I thought about all of the people that I've known who have started small businesses or might be involved in selling a product or something like that, who reached out to me, and they're people who send me they don't know me very well, and they'll send me a very generic message like, hey, can I count on you to buy samples? And I'm like, really? You're sending this message to everyone you know? So I took that experience from my own end and kind of flipped it, and I was like, okay, let's pay attention to the details of these people who are getting engaged. The first connection is that they're actually engaged, so they're actually planning a wedding. So I apply, maybe. And that kind of gave me enough confidence to at least reach out to them. Mm-hmm. And then when I started getting a little bit of positive feedback, people started responding. And some of the responses weren't yes. They were, actually, we're keeping our budget really low. We're not going to have a planner, but thank you so much for reaching out. Even those responses made me feel really good because they appreciated me reaching out and thinking of them.
Absolutely.
So each little message kind of boosted the confidence.
Well, and it kind of closes the circle too, right? It's not like other emails we send where no one replies. And so you're like, okay, do I follow up? How many times? What's happening? What are they thinking? And then we go down like this rabbit trail of, thoughts that they're not even having because they're not thinking about us. But we think they are. Brilliant. So tell me, it's interesting that you kind of started towards the end of 2017. And so as we kind of like come into this new year, 2018 is here. I feel like that's kind of a great time to start because it's the tail end of wedding season. So really 2018 will be your first like big season, I would imagine.
Yes.
So how have you kind of set goals for your business, if you have, or what have you kind of been thinking like, okay, these are my, I don't know, metrics or KPIs, like what are you thinking as far as what you want to achieve in 2018 with your business, with your new business?
So I think at first in 2017, for the final few months, I really focused on the networking aspect and meeting vendors. So for the beginning of 2018, my goals are really to be involved in styled shoots and get to know vendors, get to know various styles that I've never maybe played with before, and just kind of get comfortable in throwing my ideas out there with other wedding creatives. So I did my first styled shoot back in November and just got all the pictures back. And it was so exciting to see how everyone else reacted, to see how everything came to life. So my goals for the beginning of the year, while I'm kind of working with my clients and then there's a slight lull, there's a lot to do up front, then there's a small lull, and then there's a lot to do right before their weddings. So in between, I kind of want to spend that time getting to know vendors, doing styled shoots, going to networking events that are local to me, and building those relationships. Because I feel like, well, I know that starting a business can really be a grind, and it's difficult sometimes. So having those vendor relationships is extremely, extremely important. Their support and the knowledge that they share and the encouragement that they provide is incredible. Like the people I've met are outstanding and so helpful, and I couldn't even have imagined it before just reaching out to them. And all I did was email or message people in my area and ask them to grab coffee, and that's kind of how I started the relationships. And from there, someone asked me if I wanted to do a styled shoot, and I was like, oh my goodness, absolutely. I thought it would be so much harder. So those kind of things are really cool and just kind of help also build up the confidence. And then as far as clients go, my goal is to work with at least 5 clients, which seems, well, compared to some of the other planners episodes that I've listened to, seems on the low end, but
no way.
I found
do what you want.
That'll cover my costs for year 1.
Perfect.
But also allow me enough time to really, really, really grasp that client experience that I want to make sure that they're having. So
I love that, because then you can scale, right? You won't be backpedaling like, shoot, how can I provide a better client experience? I was way too busy trying to do 25 weddings and everything else I do in my life because I just wanted to make money, and now I don't have this experience, and so now I'm not actually getting the referrals that I should be getting.
Right. Right.
So what have you been, you've touched on client experience just a little bit. Can you kind of walk us through what that means to you and why you feel like it's such an important part of your business and where you've started from?
Yeah. So, well, I feel like a major part of having a wedding planner is to alleviate stress and kind of have that in the back of your mind. Everything's going to get done and it's going to work out okay, because the list can get bigger and bigger and bigger as you go. So my goal for my clients is to really make sure that they know that I'm here for them, that that I'm going to help them take care of everything, and that I'm available anytime they need me, even if it's just like personal advice. Like, I really want to get to know them as a person, not just as a client. So a big thing that I try to do is, with my initial consultation, kind of ask them more personal questions, even if it's just, what is your favorite TV show? Do you have any pets at home? What's your favorite thing to do with your fiance? Just to kind of get to know them on a personal level, and then I can take those details and kind of add them in as we're working through the whole planning process. And then some other little additional things are like getting them a gift card for Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, which is one of the questions I ask in the initial consultation: which do you like better, or neither? And then just kind of sending one of those when they're getting closer, or if they had like a ton of vendor meetings in a week, just to kind of let them know, hey, I'm here, I'm thinking about you. I know that you're super busy. We still got this. So just little things like that. And then leaving, my biggest thing, which I haven't done yet, is leaving them a gift before I'm totally done with the wedding. So on their wedding day, either in their getaway car, or if I can get to the place they're staying afterwards, or give it to someone to give them, but just a little gift to say, happy honeymoon, congratulations, so happy for you.
I love that. So good. How do you feel like, well, I guess when you were doing which this was so smart, I just love everything you're doing. The first client you took on in exchange for feedback, which is, I bet, was so invaluable. How did they respond to your client experience? I would imagine that they responded well, and that's why you've continued to do it. But how did they respond?
Yeah, so initially they said, yeah, you could plan our wedding. We weren't going to have a planner, but we'll help you kick off your business. And it would be nice to have a planner anyways. So right. I was like, okay, they're open to it. But there was this slight awkward part that I had to get past in my own mind, that they didn't want a planner, because it wasn't they didn't want one. They just didn't set a budget for one. So I had to be like, okay, let's treat them as if they're a real first client, which they were a real client. Let's treat them as if it's someone I don't know and give them the full client experience. So I jumped in, sent them a spreadsheet to kind of get the process started, walked them through it. And I saw the bride-to-be comment on someone else. So someone shared a blog post of my first styled shoot and said, if anyone's looking for a planner, check out Events by JVB. She's truly the best, and I mean that, which was awesome to see. And then my bride-to-be commented on that and said, I just started working with her, and she's fantastic. She's already helped me get so organized. And like reading that, even though it wasn't directly to me, it was something I was tagged in, felt really, really good. Like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. It's really working. So that was like something that really stuck out to me.
That's so good. That external feedback is helpful, especially when you can kind of be on the periphery and you're not asking for a review, but you can really see, because that was purely emotional, right? Her response was, because it was to someone else, like it was third party. So it was purely emotional. So you know that that's how she was really feeling. And what a great thing to know that, like, wow, I am really helpful in helping brides get organized. And so, you know, is that, I don't know, like, is that a key marketing thing that can be used later, right? Like, is that going to be part of your shtick? It's such good and valuable feedback. So as we're kind of getting down to time here, but I'm interested to know, where do you kind of see Events by JVB going? Like, what's like your big picture dream for the company?
So my biggest picture dream is, actually, my husband and I would love, love, love to buy a wedding venue someday.
Yes.
So I think that ideally I would be the wedding planner for the venue. And I think that I would still offer separate packages if they just wanted a planner, and I would still do that separately, but then offer like a bundled package if they were to do a wedding at my venue. Mm-hmm. So that is what I really see somewhere down the line.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes, girl, buy a venue. Well, you know what? That actually brings me back to another question. As you were talking there, when you were saying, I'd offer such and such packages. When I was looking at your website the other day, I love the packages you built out. How did you determine what packages to offer right now? I feel like that's a hard determination. And it's like ever evolving. I mean, Katie and I feel that way even at the venue sometimes.
Oh yeah. So I thought what I did was looked at all of the websites of the planners on the podcast that have had an episode. And I thought, okay, these women are seeing success. How are they offering their services? And I kind of took a little bit of everything and decided that the main two services I can offer are just day of coordination, which ends up being a little more than day of.
Sure.
I think I just called it the coordination package because I didn't want to use the words day of. Mm-hmm. And then a full planning package, which is kind of beginning to end. But I made sure to just kind of list out a couple of unique details for each package and then let them know that everything is totally customizable based on exactly what part of the planning process they're in when we meet for the first time. Mm-hmm. So I kind of wanted to make each package unique to each couple because everybody's a little bit different, and some people want to do some of the planning themselves but still really want a planner along the way to help with other things. So I tried to keep it so that each couple can customize it exactly how they want and we can make the perfect fit.
Oh, so brilliant. I love it so much. What would you say, as we wrap up here, I love how you just took action. Like I said, you like July to September from when you kind of first were like, yes, we're going to do this to when you launched your website. That's not a span. Like that's not a huge span. You are a serious action taker. And so I'm wondering what you would tell someone who's listening right now who really hasn't pulled the trigger yet on their business. What would be your kind of biggest takeaway for them?
Not to get drowned in information. I think that was like a big struggle. I mean, it's so good that there's so much information available, but it's super hard to try to be perfect at every single thing that you hear. So I think as I was listening, and it didn't help that I binge listened, so I listened to the episodes all day, every day, and then was trying to research and do this and do that. So much that I was like taking notes and I'm like, I can't do all this. I'm not going to do it. And then I was like, wait a minute. No, I just put all this work into it. I'm not going to scare myself out of it because there's so much. Just take it a step at a time. So I started by Googling how to become a sole proprietor in Illinois because I figured, okay, if I'm going to start, I at least have to make sure it's legal and that I'm doing it the right way. And that was pretty easy. I just had to pick a name, make sure it was available, file a DBA, doing business as form with the county clerk. Mm-hmm. Cost me about $10, and then I had to get that published in a newspaper for 3 weeks, and then I got a certificate. So that is something like I don't think I heard mentioned on an episode, but Googled and found out, and with my husband and I both having accounting degrees, making sure I'm doing it the right way was important to me. So
I was going to say,
yes.
I love that. I was like, that's not an accounting degree coming in.
Yeah, so I was like, how do I make sure I'm doing this right? So that was the first step, and then building and launching my website was the next. And what I told myself was, people are rebranding. People are constantly updating the content on their website, so there is no final permanent thing. Like if I do something and decide down the line, oh, I'm not sure I like this font, it can be changed. So I kind of unscared myself by thinking that it's not permanent and I can always get better.
Yes. It's not permanent. You can always get better.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of a better way to end the show. That was amazing. Jordan, thank you so much for coming on to our New to Business series, for being super candid and open. I think more conversations like this need to happen, because the reality is the first step is, what should you register your business as so that you're paying taxes appropriately? And I think that those are not the sexy parts, but they're the real parts. And so I just thank you so much for coming on to be so open and willing to share. I appreciate you. And thank you for your compliments about the podcast. I really appreciate that.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. We'll talk to you later. Bye, Jordan.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to She Creates Business. Please take a minute and head to iTunes to leave an honest review so we can help more wedding pros find the show.